welcome to our town's annual assembly. This is a reminder that this is a formal meeting, sort of, and I can advise that members of the public will be given an opportunity to speak during our public open session, but also we do have an item on here for members of the public to address the council. This meeting's being filmed, and by being present, attendees are deemed to have agreed to be filmed and to the use of those images and sound recordings. I can advise that attendees should not disclose any personal information of individuals, as that would infringe the data protection rights of that individual. Okay, good evening everybody, welcome to our annual assembly for the year 2022-23. So apologies for absence. I have apologies from Sajid Patel, who is a member of the public. He has sent his apologies to me. We also now, I think, need to take the minutes of the last annual assembly meeting, or we have matters arising. Are these somewhere in the pack, or have I missed it? No, so if everybody just cast your mind back 12 months, anybody have any matters arising that we're not going to cover in the next hour? No, so we move on to agenda item 3, which is the annual report of Biggleswade Town Council, which will be presented by Councillor Biggleswade, and that just so happens is me. So I think I stand up behind this microphone and yeah, well.
Bring the microphone over here. I'm going to turn this microphone off so you can all see me. Well, hello everybody. So no, I think it's tradition to sort of read out the report, but I'm going to sort of read it out, but we'll go through a few things as I do. So it's my great pleasure to present you the annual report of the council for 2022-2023. So over the past year, Biggleswade Town Council has worked very hard to get back to normality after an annoying number of years of pandemic-related disruption. In completing the Town Council's strategic plan, we now have a clear set of aspirations to deliver against for the years to 2025, and I trust the new council will review those at appropriate points, laying out sort of our medium and long-term vision for the town. Progress has been made through 2022 and 2023 with the initiation of various programs of work, very large programs of work, including play areas upgrades, the kick-off of the review to our assets, the restoration of the Drove Road Chapel, the growth of major town centre events, including the Christmas light switch on, improvements to the allotments, and in passing the neighbourhood plan via referendum. However, I think we all know that there is still a huge amount of work to do. In May, the Town Council hosted 2 events for the Platinum Jubilee. Whilst these were slightly frustrated by unnecessary public gathering bureaucracy imposed by certain individuals in a certain organisation that we're not going to talk about, the 500 people who attended the Jubilee events each enjoyed the special occasion with live music and patriotic performances. And both of these were topped off with the lighting of the beacon, which actually did light on time and didn't set any of the bunting on fire or anything like that. So that was a huge relief. Following the Jubilee, moving slightly later into the year in 2022, council officers, we were working on events and there were very important moments as we reflected on the Jubilee, but then they became even more poignant after a very happy occasion. The mood of the town changed and the mood of the nation changed as we mourned the death of Her Majesty the Queen. In the days which followed, our council officers worked hard to organise a book of remembrance, along with a proclamation of the accession, which was delivered in the town centre, and a memorial service which was held at St Andrew's Church, which was very well attended by members of the public given such short notice. That was literally the Sunday after the death of Her Majesty on the Thursday evening. It was an enormous honour to serve as mayor through both the Jubilee and through the Queen's death. And in May, I look forward to coming together again to celebrate the coronation of King Charles III. And I'm sure we'll have another very well attended event in the town centre, which, despite it being after the election, go and read the standing orders, I will still be the mayor. So I look forward to seeing everybody there. In October, following 4 years of very hard work, the neighbourhood plan came to referendum and passed with a resounding yes vote of 83%. This was a huge vote of confidence in the council's vision for the town. And Biggleswade now has extra protection against poor development and designated green spaces which can be preserved for, at the very least, the next generation. So through the years to 2035. And I hope as and when the plan is revised that can go much further and longer, and we can make the best use of those green spaces for our community. On behalf of everybody in the town who voted, and for those who didn't vote but who will benefit from having a neighbourhood plan in place, Councillor Madeline Russell chaired the steering group and put in hours of work behind the scenes, as did I know councillors North and Strawn and Bond, all serving on that working group for several years. And I think the town owes them a huge debt of gratitude. It is an absolutely enormous accomplishment for a town our size, which has very complex planning law at national level and local level, to get something in place that gives us the protection that we haven't had for many years, is something that I know residents will be grateful for. In November, the annual Remembrance Sunday and Armistice Day services were held in the town. These were very well supported by residents who I know appreciate the sense of community which comes around that time of year. Again, my thanks to the council officers who worked very hard alongside the Royal British Legion, particularly Councillor Jonathan Woodhead and Councillor Russell as well, who I know partner with them throughout the year to put on those special events. Later in November, the annual Christmas light switch on. Again, that was a huge success with seemingly record numbers in the town centre, this despite an England World Cup match taking place at the same time. The very thrilling 0-0 draw with the US was really not a patch on the colourful display that was going on in the town centre at the time. So thank you to everybody who went along and supported our pubs either before or afterwards. But if you did miss a switch on, you missed me dancing with Dame Nellie Nutmeg on the stage. So that's your loss. The switch on was also accompanied by Queenergy, a live Queen tribute band. So thank you particularly to Councillor Knight and to officers, to Isaac Lord, to Karim Husseini and to others who worked a very, very long day, and all those in the Public Realm team who were clearing up long into the night as they do every year. But the feedback that I hear from residents time and again is that the Christmas light switch on goes from strength to strength, and people keep coming and they keep enjoying it, and the market benefits and our town centre businesses benefit. So I look forward to coming for many years to come. Into the new year, several large strategic projects got underway and really gained some momentum. Perhaps most notable of these is the refurbishment of Franklin's recreation ground, the adoption of the King's Reach play areas, which is, I hope, coming to fruition very soon, and also the Capital Assets Review Working Group, who are doing a great job to develop strategic plans for our assets throughout the town, something which is taking place behind the scenes, but which we'll start to see the fruits from very soon. These will be multi-year programs which will truly transform many well-loved public spaces, and I look forward to seeing how this work progresses. Outside of the Town Council, there remain major projects which councillors and officers continually seek to influence, taking clear positions on development to the east of Biggleswade, land north of Furzenhall Road, the substation, transport interchange, the expansion of Stratton Business Park, and the step-free access at the station. So there's a lot going on in Biggleswade. I probably missed off one or two major deliverables, so I apologise about that. But the extent to which we are able to influence now, whether it's new infrastructure or developments in a way that we never have before, is a credit to the work of our councillors and to our officers who engage on a strategic level far better than anything we've known for previous years. So look, whilst not everything is within our control, the Town Council has played its role in taking consistent and logical positions. We've backed those up by evidence and ensured strong representation is provided both publicly in formal responses, but also softly behind the scenes as we engage with officers at Central Beds, Network Rail, Highways England, and these various other organisations. The main challenge facing Biggleswade today is development without enough infrastructure. And whilst many of our schools and other facilities are holding up better than they get credit for, the main challenge in Biggleswade is now very clearly the lack of access to healthcare, most notably GPs. The decision a couple of months ago by the ICB not to proceed with the Biggleswade Health Hub at this point is a poor decision. However, the council continues to make this clear both to individuals who represent the ICB, others in the health services, but also to Richard Fuller MP. And the town council has met privately with both surgeries in the town and with the ICB to understand their concerns and to see how support can be provided. And I hope that dialogue continues. I know it will. Further to that, though, we know that a lot of that pressure is coming from further residential development, and the council has had a consistent position on this since 2018. Development to the east of Biggleswade is supported subject to good design and considerable investment in infrastructure. However, development to the north is in the wrong location and will never be supported. Huge amounts of work have taken place with transport consultants to object to the land north planning application, including detailed scrutiny of the impact of the road network and of the sustainability of the site. It's expected to be determined at the Development Management Committee, probably in May, possibly June. And I know the Town Council very much hopes that this is refused, despite it being on a knife edge. The land east site for 1,500 houses to the east of Biggleswade, that's been sold, and we expect to see plans progress over the coming year. I hope that future Town Council works closely with the developer to create an attractive new development with major investment in schools, roads, health, leisure, and a constructive approach is vital to make sure that we don't repeat the mistakes of the past. Speaking of leisure, I think something that we noted in the middle of this year was the deficit that we have in Biggleswade related to this, particularly in football. So it's very pleasing to see a planning application come forward for a 3G pitch at Stratton Upper School. However, that will supply perhaps just a fraction of the demand which exists for people playing football, most notably Biggleswade FC, and I know this council will work hard over the coming years to find them a home. Our town centre also remains a priority for the council, with many big businesses struggling with higher running costs. However, the residents of Biggleswade appear to continue to show support. Over the coming years, work is required to sort out the layout of the town centre, including bus routes. We need to replace the trees, but put them in the right locations, improve connectivity to the east of the town, and get people off of the A1, driving past Biggleswade and into our town centre, spending their money there. Doing all of that whilst creating a modern community feel and also preserving our important historic features is going to be a tough balance, but I'm confident that we've got the team of councillors and officers with the vision and the energy to do that. If we accompany proactive management and exciting events, well, we have done so, and it's made Biggleswade a more attractive place to do business, and it's encouraged investment. So as a town, and over the last few years, we obviously have had our challenges, but from networking with fellow mayors across central Bedfordshire and beyond, I know that we're not alone in the challenges that we face. In my year as mayor, I've conducted over 40 official engagements, and there are still a few more to come over the next few weeks. So thank you to everybody who supported me in my year as mayor, particularly to councillor colleagues who give up their time for free and tirelessly work for our town. Of course, I'd like to thank our council staff too, who keep the operations of the council running properly all day and every day. Thank you very much.
Right. Item 4. We now have reports from chairmen of committees. And I think we begin with the Public Land and Open Spaces Committee, which is Councillor North. If you'd like to come and take to the microphone, Councillor North.
Councillor Hayes. Yes, well, the written report is presented. The key issues that we have dealt with are the play and recreation areas, notably Franklin's, where a huge amount of work has gone into planning and organising a major development there, which is now pretty well complete, I think, actually, isn't it, Peter? But now will be taken in hand by our own public realm team to landscape and plant some grass areas and other things to make it all tidy and nice for people to use, just as the summer is beginning to emerge upon us, we hope, at least. Public realm team have done a very, very good job. We're getting used to a higher standard of planting and flower beds. We're much better organised now that we have the depot on the Eldon Way. It is, yes, down Hitchin Street, Langford Road. That makes us all a lot better organised. We've got a lot of equipment there now that's being much better cared for than in the past, and the things are looking up on that front. A lot of work has gone into dealing with allotments, improving the offering there, improving the whole layout and increasing the number of allotments that are being offered. And that work continues. Is it not switched on? Was it switched on? Otherwise I'd have to start again. For it to...
You're doing a fine job. Carry on, Councillor North.
So there's lots of things going on with the allotments, but it is obviously something very important to the town. We have, I think, over 200 people have allotments there, I believe. Is that correct? Yes, and so it's quite important to the town, and people do like their allotments, and many feel quite strongly about issues relating to them. But we have been able to maintain good relations, I think, with the Allotment Association, and we have regular meetings with them and talk to them about the issues that are of concern to them. The work on the Grove Road Cemetery Chapel continues, and that's another couple of years yet before it's completed. We've also, although not mentioned here, we've also done some work on the Stratton Way Cemetery, or at least planning to do work on the Stratton Way Cemetery. And just as a final comment, we've been talking for a long time about the Pocket Park and the Linear Ward and taking over the management of this from Central Beds Council, which just goes on, discussions, debates, counter offers and offers. And we are hopeful, though, I don't know if Peter's got any further information, we are hopeful that that will be concluded very soon, and that we'll be able to take over the management of those areas and make them more attractive for the people of the town, and a better facility for our residents. So that concludes my report. If anybody has any questions, I'd be very happy to answer them, particularly members of the public. Yes.
No signals. Thank you, Councillor North. We now move on to the Town Centre Management Committee. So, Councillor Knight.
Thank you very much. Thank you. It's been my honour to serve as the chair of the Town Centre Management Committee for the last year, and thank you to Councillor Strawn for serving as the deputy. So I won't read the whole report, I'll just pull out a few highlights. I think it's fair to say all of the work of the committee has been very important. Some of it's been fun too. So first, let's talk about car parks. The town operates 6 car parks, and the experience with those car parks has not been as good as we would like in terms of the reliability and the availability. Towards the end of the last year, we completed a process to start a tender to get new submissions to replace and upgrade the car parking machines, potentially to include mobile apps to make it easier and less friction to buy parking tickets. I'm pleased to report we've had a significant number of responses to those tenders, and I think one of the first duties of the new council is going to be to choose which supplier to go with, to hopefully give a really good value and high quality offer to our community and residents. The market is an area where I'm particularly passionate, and I'm pleased that over the last year we've managed to continue the success in terms of rebuilding the market that we had following the COVID recovery. It's really good to see 20 stalls, or sometimes more, regularly on a Saturday. I think we need to really keep the energy levels there and keep looking for new traders, because what we do sometimes find is that traders grow on Biggleswade and then they outgrow Biggleswade and go to larger and bigger markets, and we need to work hard to backfill and constantly find new traders. But I think it's been a good year for the market. It's really good to see a vibrant market on a Saturday, and I thank the market superintendent, Colin, who's really supported us with that effort. Of course, with the good things like the market, we also have challenges in the town centre, and one of those has been crime and antisocial behaviour. So I'm really pleased over the course of the last year, the council has agreed to invest in installing 8 new high-definition cameras and 1 new mobile camera. I know the installation of those cameras has taken longer than we would have liked, but we received some really good news today that we have now taken control of the line that we need so we can start the installation of those cameras. So I'm confident that will help to be a deterrent to antisocial behaviour, but will also help the local police in detecting and preventing crimes in the future as well. So I think that's really important for the town. The mayor's stolen much of my thunder talking about the various events over the year. Yes, he looks very guilty. One of the challenges we had with the Jubilee celebration was the limit of 500 people that was imposed on us quite late. And that meant we had to have a perimeter and we had to count people in and out. And that really limited our ambition a little bit. And I know that caused some frustration. So my thanks to council offices, particularly Isaac, who did a great job submitting a premises license for the whole Market Square. And as I know members will already be aware, we now have a premises license that allows us to run events in the Market Square of up to 5,000 people. So that really removes the restrictions that we had. And that license allows us to operate things like cinemas, live music, plays, and of course to sell alcohol. So there's now a whole range of events that we're able to run. And I think if we look at the success we've had the last couple of years with the Christmas light switch on, in a way we've set ourselves a challenge because, making it even better next year, I think is going to be quite a high bar, but I'm certainly determined to do what I can to make sure that the Christmas celebrations in this town are as good as they possibly can be. So with that, I think it's just down to me to thank all of the council staff that have supported us, especially the Public Realm team who have worked so hard to make the floral displays within the town centre look fantastic. And does anyone have any questions?
Any questions? No.
Okay.
Thank you, Councillor Nine. Thank you. Without further ado, we move on to the Finance and General Purposes Committee. So, Councillor Pullinger, please.
Thank you very much. So I won't read my report in full, and I'll just call out some of the main points. The first thing I'd like to talk about is the budget and the precepts, and I think it's really positive that we had a very balanced budget in the 22-23 year, ending the year with a surplus of just £1,560, and with a 1.4 or so million budget, that's pretty good going, really. And we've worked very hard as a council, both officers and members, to reduce our costs and really work hard to limit the increase in the precept as we move forward into the next year in these times of very high inflation. Looking into the activities of the Finance and General Purposes Committee, a lot of this is sort of behind the scenes and making the council run as well as it can, and doesn't deliver directly into what members of the public see, but it is really important to make sure we run effectively and are able to deliver the great things that we do with the public land and open spaces and town centre in particular. So some of the things we've been doing is restructuring our financial organisation to make sure we've got people doing the right things and managing things effectively, that we've got the right processes and procedures in place, and we've got the right governance in place to manage the council effectively. We've also been modernising some of our activities and procedures. So, for example, we've moved from the majority of our outgoing payments now being by backs and online transfer as opposed to cheques. We've introduced card payment facilities, and we've improved processes for booking of our facilities such as the Orchard Centre and sports pitches, and we now have online options for some of those bookings as well. And we've been looking at a new internal auditor for next year, and we've secured a new internal auditor to really ensure that we are doing the right things as we go forward. Councillor Fage mentioned the capital assets review. I think this is a really important activity that's ongoing to make sure that we're getting the best use of our assets, and that for the future that we will maintain them all effectively, but also allow them to be utilised in the best way to really provide the benefit to the residents of the town. As a committee, we've been supporting the council's ambition to invest in some of our big projects. So Councillor North mentioned the improvements to the playgrounds and the cemeteries, and they have been funded through Public Work Loan Board, which this committee has supported the applications for and making sure that they're managed effectively, and has continued to do so as we move into the next phase of improvements to our facilities. And we're also responsible for the grants process, and we issued 26 grants this year, totaling just over 21,500, awarded to many charities and good causes benefiting the residents of Biggleswade. And we also continue to fund the community agent that is employed by Bedfordshire Rural Community Charity. So it just leaves me to really to thank the officers and members, and particularly my Vice Chairman, Councillor Mark Foster, and the Finance Manager, Rob Youngs, and Accounts Administrator Tracy for all of the work supporting the committee. So thank you very much.
Thank you,
Are there any
Councillor.
questions?
Any questions?
Thank you.
No, they let you off lightly. Thank you, Councillor. Okay, and finally for the reports then, the Personnel Committee, Councillor Jonathan Woodhead.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Thank you. I'll try and keep this brief. I won't go through word for word, but I just wanted to say a few thank yous and just cover a couple of key points, really. First of all, is to covering all personnel committee issues, but thanks to my vice chair, Hazel Ramsey, as well. I think it's covered a couple of times in the past year in my absence, so thank you for that. And also to Helen Calvert from the Town Hall Council staff, who's been excellent at providing some of the data and some of the background information that we've required as a committee and been able to present at committee at various occasions as well. So, a big thank you to Helen as well, and also to Peter, but in particular Helen. As it states in the report, essentially what we've been doing is just continuing to build on modernising our procedures and policies around personnel, trying to do more training, making sure people are up to speed with the right professional qualifications that we require them to do, whether that's in the public realm, whether it's in the office-based roles, and also trying to give a more sort of structured set of policies around toil, data protection, the remote working, which of course has had a new impetus from since COVID, in particular, DBS, travel and subsistence policy, etc., etc. Also first aid training as well, which is important, as we've talked about. Events are an increasingly large part of the thing, part of our engagement with the public. So that's an important thing, that we have an appropriate number of first aid trained members of staff as well, and also setting targets and appraisals throughout the year for for different members of staff within the council as well. That's all been done to an appropriate level, and also feedback being given, etc., etc. I know that hasn't always been the case in the past, but that has happened to all council members of staff now. So I think we're very much up to speed with all of that, and then also really kind of, I guess it's building on a theme that other colleagues have raised as well, but just a recognition of the I guess the flexibility and the commitment of our own staff to responding to lots of some of the events that were predicted. Perhaps the Jubilee was predicted last year, but I don't think the Queen's passing particularly was, and some of the other things that we did on all of them in a very short timescale, very compressed timescale. So a big thank you from me about the increasing flexibility and of our staff to respond to events and into the sort of changing environment that we're in. I dare say there'll probably be more in the next year, in the future as well. But it's I think that all of those things are very well received by the public, and particularly our staff, who are the public face of the council as well. The public do see that, and I think that that's very well received and acknowledged by the community. So just a big thank you from me. But if anybody's got any particular questions, I'm happy to answer them as best I can.
Any questions? No, thank you, Councillor Woodhead.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. So that moves us on to item 5, resolution and questions. So for the meeting to consider subjects and resolutions affecting the town from any member of the public or councillor who is in attendance. So if there are any questions about the town or any of the reports you've heard, please put your hand up. The chiming of the clock won't affect our ability to do that. No, okay. And then finally then, item 6, so open forum for any matters relating to anything that's happening in Biggleswade, absolutely anything at all. within reason. We have questions for potentially ward councillors and town councillors. Do either of our ward councillors want to say anything this evening about the work of Central Bedfordshire over the last year? Maybe. Councillor Bond? Glad a couple of our ward councillors could make it.
So I wasn't expecting this, but so it has to be off the hoof here. Yeah, it's been a very successful few years at Central Beds. Done lots of work around town, not all of it's seen. Road works done, pavements, lots of things that people just don't see, but happens all the time. Working with town council, which I can say has been a very productive exercise. We've worked very well together on planning. And as the mayor said earlier regarding Land North, we're working very hard to achieve that. And we actually probably expect it to come to planning in the next few months. And we will do our utmost to ensure that, as the unanimous decision of Biggleswade Town Council in February 2018 was, no building north of Biggleswade. We reluctantly accept building to the east of Biggleswade as long as there's suitable infrastructure. But as far as the north is concerned, we won't accept any. It's too close to the common. It's too close to a whole area of really important land. It's the last green area. Really can't afford to lose it. So I will be, if elected as town council or Central Beds councillor, working hard to achieve that, and also continuing the cooperation with town council. I'll also be looking out to members of the public to help us to make this case. We've already had 1,400 odd people who actually lodged an objection to the planning application. We need to make sure that application, we do our best to stop it, and not just stop it now, but stop it permanently. So, and that takes a concerted effort. And all the years I've been a town council, I've never seen an effort like it. And I take my hat off to town council for really working hard at this. And yet again, I'll say a very great thank you to Councillor Madeline Russell, who initiated that first response to the draft local plan in February 2018. We've got a lot of work to do, and we really have to succeed here. It's the most important planning application in a couple of decades for Biggleswade, and we really have to make it very clear to Central Beds that the objections to it and how wrong it is. Any other subjects? I know other subjects as well, but that's the one which is closest to my heart, and I think closest to this council's heart as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Would you like to come to the floor, Councillor Foster? There are a few other issues around switching to two-tier schools and transport interchange and stuff, so maybe you'd like to cover those.
Funnily enough, that's going to be my key point. So clearly one of the additional things in the town that's happening is the change from two-tier, so it's a three-tier to two-tier. So a big change to the town. Currently we have obviously lower schools, middle and upper. We're changing now to primary and secondary over the next few years, and the consultations happened, and we're now very clear what the next stages are. So you'll have seen perhaps some of the things that are happening recently around the changes. One of the things that happened is the announcement around lower school places just recently, where a couple of the schools in particular are very close to the targets. And I think it's quite important to acknowledge the fact that there will be some parents that will be not able to have their first choice for schools, particularly on St Andrews East. And it's quite clear that there are potential development issues there. So over the coming year, particularly in St Andrews East and West, the numbers of pupils that will be able to attend will be dropping. I think we've got to look at how those the numbers are managed. It's quite important there. There will be capacity in the system, absolutely, but it just means that there won't be the numbers of places that are already in there at the moment. So parents will have perhaps less choice, but it means that they'll have to go to other schools. So I think I wanted to make reference to, I think it's quite important, but we've been able to, as a council and at Central Beds, to be involved in the process and have direct involvement in what is happening. One of the other things to really talk about is the land east of Biggleswade development. And one of the key things around the Housing Infrastructure Fund bid was the fact that there was money for a secondary school, money for the power station, for the transport interchange and for Linsell Crossing. So I'm going to talk primarily about the education element, and you'll be aware that the council originally had numbers for the secondary school, and when it reviewed the numbers, it realised that there isn't the demand for a secondary school places within the town. So as a result, with the council approached Homes England and effectively negotiated so that the funding from the Housing Infrastructure Fund could be used to pay for school places in the town rather than an additional secondary school. So that's important because it means that we've been able to then, as part of the plan, expand St Andrews East, St Andrews West, Lawnside, and the other schools within the system, so that there is demand, that there are places to meet the demand. So instead of an additional school built that wasn't needed, we've got places within the town and on the existing location. So it's quite important. I think the other thing to note is that Central Beds Council made an application for a free school, which has been approved, and that's on the Ivor Valley site, subject to planning, subject to other considerations, which would mean that Ivor Valley would relocate to the site that was proposed for the secondary school, and it means that then the free school site would be in Ivor Valley. So this is still sort of in process at the moment, but it's quite important because it does bring additional special needs education site within the town, which currently we haven't got. So it just means it's additional to the area. So I think I really wanted to focus on that because it's quite important to people to understand the investment in the town and what we're trying to do. I think that the Mayor's already spoken about the transport interchange, Linsell Crossing again, and obviously the power station down Dunton Lane. At the moment, it's in development. I think we'll all see that you won't be able to miss the thing as you're driving down Dunton Lane. So, but it's a quite important development for the town, which just means that the town has additional power and the wider area. So I think probably I'll leave it there, but I just want to emphasise those key points. Any questions? Happy to answer.
Thank you, Councillor Foster. Councillor Ramsey has a question.
I wish I had the answer to that off the top of it. I don't actually have the answer to that, Hazel. I'm sorry. I will come back to you on that.
Councillor.
Again, I don't have the specific numbers at hand. I thought I'd just to give you the overview on it. Again, it's still the fact that we're relocating Ivor Valley in due course, it would mean that there are additional places there. Certainly, Ivor Valley already is expanding and there are additional places to Ivor Valley, but when it relocates, it will be further. In terms of the free school, I can't give you the numbers. I haven't got off the top of my head. Yeah, it's going to be a different. It will be different. It will be different to the existing offer at Ivor Valley.
Thank you. Councillor Woodhead?
It was more of a kind of an omission, but a kind of well done in the sense of part of the educational, but also cultural facilities and in the sense of the library. And I think Central Beds needs to be congratulated in actually investing in libraries rather than other places around the UK which are disinvesting in them. And it's going to be a wonderful product. I go past it every single day and it's amazing the work that's going on kind of behind the barriers. I think it's going to be a really good addition to the town, and certainly in terms of the children's facilities, the children's library, and all the rest of it, and obviously a refashioned registry office as well. But I've talked about the library. I think that's actually very welcome, because so many of the places are either closing it down, or closing the library division, or shrinking it, and I think we're actually boosting it. So I think it's something that we ought to shout from the rooftops a little bit more.
I think you're right, and I think the other point that you made around the children's centre in particular, the fact that the children's centre has been fairly nomadic over the last few years to actually have a dedicated location. The children's centres provide excellent support to residents, and I know from personal experience the benefit that offers. I think to have a dedicated site, albeit it's a small facility, it's still something that's local to the town. It's in the town. Central, and will be an absolute asset. I mean, and the sooner that's open, the better. I think it's excellent news.
Thank you. Okay. Any final questions? No. Thank you, Councillor Bond and Councillor Foster, for your contributions. We're very good. Oh, Councillor Bond has a question, comment. Oh, if you must, yeah, go on.
Just going back to what you said earlier about health services and such, I just thought I'd do an update, because obviously it's very important for us to have health resources in Biggleswade, and a lot of this goes down to the NHS. as town council, we do our best and work with the local doctor surgeries, and we also work with Central Beds. And Central Beds has influence, but actually does not make a decision regarding what actually happens to health. Now, I don't know if you're aware, but there's £15.9 million in Central Bed's budget regarding a health hub. It's just a case of trying to get two things to happen. The NHS to agree a decent lease so that we can actually have a facility in town which will stay as health resources in the future. And secondly, to actually have that lease to be long enough. But sorry, the other bit we have is recently the NHS turned around and says they don't actually intend to go ahead with this health hub. So with working with our Member of Parliament, who has actually spoken in Parliament about it, we're trying to get the NHS to change their mind. I raised an emergency question at Central Beds a few weeks ago, and it was very well received. And the leader of Central Beds, Councillor Wellham, basically had a very good response to it. We're working hard, and there's a lot of emphasis in town to get this right. We all know you can't have development unless you have proper infrastructure. The infrastructure we can't actually supply is the health service side, but we can influence it. We'll do our best to do so. So that was just going back to what the Mayor said earlier regarding suitable infrastructure. I thought I would miss that point. I'd come back to it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bond. There's a lot going on in Biggleswade, isn't there? You go. Tell why I look so tired all the time. Okay, well, that just leaves me to close. So thank you ever so much, everybody who joined us. As many of you know, I'm not standing again to be a town councillor, which means that the chain will be passed on to somebody else next year to be the mayor. But I thoroughly enjoyed my year meeting residents and working closely with council officers and councillors. And I know we're joined by a few new councillors who have already been elected, who offer a wide range of skills from diverse backgrounds and who will help to keep this town moving forward and bring fresh ideas and a new lease of life as well. So I think the Town Council has some very good days ahead of it. So thank you ever so much. I'll see you back here next week for our last council meeting of this term. And then shortly after that for the King's coronation, among other things. So